So I started playing The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask 3D, although not actually in 3D, because I'm playing it on a Nintendo 2DS XL. Now, I bought this game many years ago. When the Nintendo 64 was around, I never actually played it back then. I played The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. I got to the Water Temple, got stuck, tried to beat it a million times and just never did. Maybe one day I'll revisit that when I'm like 70 years old and try to beat it then. But I knew that the Majora's Mask game came out back when the Nintendo 64 was around. I just never bought it or played it. Then when the 3D version came out, or the 3DS version, whatever you want to call it, I started playing it. I bought it, but I never actually made any progress in it, so I'm playing it now, starting from the beginning. And so this is the first few minutes of the game. It's very cutscene heavy, obviously. They need to set up the story. And you see Link riding his horse in the forest, and then these two little fairies show up. I guess that's what they're called. Again, I'm just approaching this as if I know nothing about it, because I really don't. I don't remember anything about the story from Zelda Ocarina of Time or anything about this story that I've read about in the past. So these two fairies, I think they're sisters, they approach him or distract him and knock him off his horse. And then this other person shows up wearing this mask that is apparently the focal point of this game, maybe. Just taking a guess, but this is all over the marketing, all over the cover of the game, everything. So that's the Skull Kid. And these fairies are working with the Skull Kid. And I guess this Skull Kid wants to see if this guy, who is Link, has anything on him, trying to steal from him. And all they see is this horse. Again, if you look at the graphics here, it's very similar to the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. They find an ocarina. They're laughing about it. And eventually they decide they're going to take his horse. Here you see Link waking up. I'm not even sure when the events of this game take place. I'm going to take a guess, and it's after the Ocarina of Time, maybe? So they stole Link's horse, and Link is hanging on for dear life. Oh, Link, just let go. You can't do anything to them. Come on. Well, he must have been holding on for a long time there. Okay, so now you're in this like forest clearing. And this is where the cutscene concludes. And now you finally have control of Link. So I don't know the controls. I was just testing them out here. Just running around. At some point I try to pull out the sword and the shield and use them. Again, this is all being done on a Nintendo 2DS XL. This is a system that was like one of the final, maybe the final revision of the Nintendo 3DS system, which itself came from the Nintendo DS, which is one of the best-selling game consoles of all time. I bought the Nintendo 2DS XL because I knew they had such a vast library of games, and even though I bought it near the end of its life cycle, I knew that in the future, if I wanted to play any games from the DS, the 3DS, I could find the cartridges somewhere. But the Nintendo eShop also had some great downloadable games, including this one. I downloaded this onto the Nintendo 2DS XL. Obviously, the Nintendo eShop for this system is gone, so I can't purchase any other games, but the Nintendo eShop back then was great because you could buy games for such a cheap price. Not this particular one, but I have other Zelda games on here that I'll play in the future. I never got around to playing them. I just bought them because they were like $1, $2. I also bought Punch-Out, which is from the original Nintendo system. Oh, and now they're giving the instructions of how you're supposed to move Link around. I kind of figured it out by this point, although it might not look like it because you'll see me jumping all over the place here. Because I just wanted to look around and see if I could find anything, any secret things. Is there anything other than these platforms around? But yeah, no, the Nintendo eShop was great for the 3DS or 2DS because you could get these like $1, $2 games and they're all classics. So I have a couple of classic Zelda games besides this one that I want to play. I think Oracle of Seasons, that's one of them, and then I think A Link to the Past, which was originally on the Super Nintendo, but I have that one too, and I'm sure I'll play them in the future. As far as like 3DS games that I purchased, I think I have like the Super Mario 3D Land, and I think, oh, maybe like a wrestling game. Oh, and I think Luigi's Mansion maybe as well, which I don't think I ever finished, so maybe I'll get around to those. You see Link finally went through that tunnel. That was my fault, it took that long. But he falls through this tunnel and down into this pit where he finally lands on a flower or a plant of some sort. And there's the Skull Kid with the two fairies and saying they got rid of Link's horse. It's terrible. I mean, I like the opening of this game here just because it kind of gives you like a gloomy mood, and it's sort of like not your traditional kids game. Anytime there's negativity in a game, I like it because it's a nice change of pace, especially for Nintendo, you know, who has like the Super Mario stuff and the Luigi stuff. And I remember a lot of people saying this game was dark. That's part of the reason I bought it for the 3DS, just because anytime you can see that kind of stuff in a game, it's fun. Especially a Nintendo game, which is not common. So now he's surrounded by all these things, and I guess through magic, they've turned him into something. I don't know what you call it, but they did something to him, and now his face is gone. It has turned into this other thing. See, again, right off the bat, they're kind of throwing you for a loop here. This is not your average game. It's refreshing. I mean, it's surprising right from the beginning. It's like, I don't know where this story is headed or what it's about or anything, other than it's called Majora's Mask. There's a Skull Kid, two fairies, a weird mask, and now Link is transformed into some other entity. And one of the fairies gets separated here from the Skull Kid and the other fairy, which apparently is Link's fault, because that's what the fairy is blaming him for. So the next stage in this game is, I guess I have to find the Skull Kid and the fairy. But I wanted to play around a little bit because just to see if there's anything else around. So they give you control of Link again with this altered face. Now, I know the Skull Kid and the fairy went through that, I don't know, whatever that is over there, that door. But this is a good time to take a break.